Today on Time About the Movies, we officially begin the 2010 holiday movie season. Halloween is come and gone, and we're starting off a slate of big award-contending movies, and also big family adventures for the holiday season, with DreamWorks' latest animated feature, Megamind. We also have Robert Downey Jr. and Zach Galifianakis starring in Todd Phillips' follow-up to The Hangover, Due Date. We have Tyler Perry hoping to repeat the same Oscar success that Precious had the year before with Four Colored Girls. And we have Naomi Watts and Sean Penn in the second movie, Named Fair Game, released in November in the 21 years that we've been covering the movies on this channel. But we also have Danny Boyle's follow-up to Slumdog Millionaire, 127 Hours. November 5th, 2010 is coming up next right here on Time About the Movies. And welcome to Time About the Movies. Today we are taking a look at the 5 films that kick off November of 2010, on November 5th to be exact. And as I said before, Halloween is over, which means it's now time for the big holiday movie season rush to begin. And just like the last couple of years, DreamWorks starts it off with a brand new animated feature with our first film, Megamind. And it's the second animated movie this year focusing on a supervillain having to become a good guy. The one that was much more successful was Despicable Me, but that doesn't mean that Megamind was a flop per se. In fact, I would honestly say that it's a much better movie than Despicable Me was. That's just my opinion, but let's look at the plot. Megamind is voiced by Will Ferrell, as it says in the commercial there. He's been in this long battle with Metro Man, voiced by Brad Pitt. It's basically the equivalent of Superman. Ever since their plans have been destroyed, well, Superman, there you go. When Megamind finally looks like he's killed Metro Man, he takes over the city, but realizes that without a hero to fight, his life has no purpose. So he decides to create a hero using a guy named Hal, voiced by Jonah Hill, who also has a crush on reporter Roxanne Ritchie, voiced by Tina Fey, to turn him into a superhero, but later becomes a supervillain, and it's up to Megamind to save the day. And yeah, it's a movie that is definitely very similar to Despicable Me, but it's better than Despicable Me. Now, I don't think that movie is bad, but this movie, I think, had a much better idea of how to entertain his audience more. It has a great, interesting idea of a supervillain who thinks he's killed his arch enemy, and now that he's gone, what's your next move? And then he can't figure it out, so he just basically decides, I have to go and create a new villain. And yeah, it's a movie that is very clever and very funny at times. It's not perfect all the way through, but it definitely has a lot more to it than something like a Despicable Me did. The voice casting overall is top-notch. The story is very well done. The visuals are really good to look at, and the 3D overall is really good. It's not the best overall by DreamWorks, but I mean, you've got a year where you've had Shrek Forever After and How to Train Your Dragon. I mean, it's been a pretty solid year for DreamWorks all across the board. There are a couple things that do bother me about the movie, and I think most people can really agree with that. The whole thing about dancing at the end of the film with the main characters, I mean, it's not like it's a bad thing per se, but like it's one of those things where, I mean, we already saw, we're seeing way too many movies where the characters are just dancing because we can't figure out how to properly end the movie after the big conflict. I mean, granted, yeah, you've got Michael Jackson's Bad playing in the background of this one here, and it makes sense because Bad, it's a movie about a supervillain, but at the same time, it's just kind of like, really, like, I'm so glad we're kind of getting away from this trope overall. I think we have gotten away from it in the 15 years since then, but you still get a couple movies here and there that feel like they gotta throw it in there just for fuck's sake. But in a year where DreamWorks had a lot of really good movies, this is more Shrek Forever After than How to Train Your Dragon. And that's not a bad thing, because How to Train Your Dragon is a high bar to top, but Shrek Forever After was pretty good, so to be in that same area, that's not a bad thing whatsoever. I mean, most of their movies overall have ranged from good to great, and this is definitely one of those good ones. This is a film that is definitely worth watching, and definitely deserves a lot more respect and attention than the god-awful sequels that came out last year did. And I'm talking about the movie that was made for Peacock that was billed officially as the sequel and the television series, which was just as bad. But hey, Despicable Me and Megamind did eventually cross over, or at least that would have made Despicable Me 4 great last year, because Will Ferrell played the bad guy in that movie. Like, Like, come on, Universal. You own DreamWorks. You could make that happen. Why didn't you just make the villain in Despicable Me 4 Megamind? That would have been so awesome. I still can't get over that, but anyway. But Megamind's a great movie overall. Let's get to a massive, massive, massive failure on so many levels, despite the fact that it had so many good people behind it. Robert Downey Jr. and Zach Galifianakis starring in Todd Phillips' follow-up to The Hangover, which is Due Date. Do not let that great trailer fool you. I know it's playing Barry Manilow's Looks Like We Made It in the background, and it plays so well with the antics of the movie. But when you see people like Sean Edwards of Fox TV praising this, that's your sign to abandon all hope, ye who enter here. Because anytime that guy's name is on one of those critic reels, you know the movie is going to be terrible. Sometimes he gets it right once in a while, but it is very few and far between. And Due Date, yeah, it's definitely one of those movies. One of those movies that is just like, yeah, no, this isn't for you. Stop me if you've heard what the plot of this, if you've heard this plot before. In Due Date, two guys, played by Robert Downey Jr. and Zach Galifianakis, take a cross-country trip in order for Peter to see the birth of his child and for Ethan to head to Hollywood to make it big. Throughout the trip, they go through some crazy hijinks. You know, a movie similar to this could be something of like, oh, I don't know, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. I mean, literally, it's Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, except for the Hangover audience, with more gross-out jokes and more stupid comedy and all the stuff that was supposedly taken out of Planes, Trains, and Automobiles that rightfully was needed to be taken out. And that's what this movie is. Just a bad rip-off remake of Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. This is a film directed by Todd Phillips, who has made a lot of good movies and very rarely has missed the mark. I think School for Scoundrels at this point was his biggest misfire to date at that point. But no, I can easily say this is so far the worst thing he's directed so far. And we haven't even gotten to the second half of his tenure of movies here, because there's some bad ones there too. But yeah, this is pretty bad. I mean, Zach Galifianakis, who I liked in The Hangover and didn't mind him in G-Force, he's a straight-up asshole in this movie, and trying to be way too hard like Del Griffin in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Yeah, he's trying to be like you, John Candy, with my pop figures back there. That's been there for a while now. That's not a coincidence that was just there for the sake of me talking about this particular film. But I'm sorry. In Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, Candy could be an asshole at times, but he was still a likable character, and you felt sympathetic for him for his situation. The fact that he had been away from his home for nearly 10 years and on the road and just looking for somebody to be a friend with. You don't feel for Zach Galifianakis at all. He's pretty much predicting the future of his character in the Hangover movies, just being the obnoxious asshole, and kind of like what I said last month with It's Kind of a Funny Story. That was a great movie that showed what he can do as an actor, as a comedic actor. But no, people wanted to be the stupid, obnoxious jackass, and yeah, this thing is, yeah, in here, he's terrible. Everybody else in here is doing their parts very well. I mean, Robert Downey Jr. is Robert Downey Jr., and Michelle Monaghan, hey, a reunion of Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, another one of my favorite movies of all time. But a lot of the jokes just fall flat, and sometimes they are just really stupid and really pointless. Like, there's a scene where they go to the Mexican border, and for no particular reason, I got 3 good chuckles out of the movie. The biggest laugh being the scene where Jamie Foxx and Downey Jr. are driving through the drainage ditches, and Galifianakis goes jumping in the air, because you want to see that happen to this son of a bitch. And on top of that, they steal jokes from Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, Meet the Parents, Along Came Polly. You see the scene in the trailer where Robert Downey Jr. is sitting down at the airport, and there's a guy with his stomach out, like with hair and all that, like this right here. And I'm sorry for you folks out there that don't like to see skin, but hey, it could be a whole lot worse. I'm just telling you. I could be going further than that, but this is a family show. As I've been swearing a lot here, but we don't do that type of stuff here. I'm like a Chadwick Boseman in Avengers: Infinity War. We don't do that here. But anyway, back to Due Date. I don't know why I'm going off like that, but you gotta try my patience when you're stealing jokes from Along Came Polly and that unfunny one here. They even take parts from the Planes, Trains, and Automobiles script that were cut out for a reason. Like, there's a whole subplot about maybe Michelle Monaghan's fucking Jamie Foxx. See, I just swore again, but That's a plot element that was taken out of Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, where Steve Martin's wife thought he was cheating on her with Dell, and they took it out because they realized it was a completely pointless scene, pointless subplot to the storyline here. This movie decided, no, we're going to put that in there. We think that's funny, and no, it's not. It's a scene that goes absolutely nowhere. It's completely pointless, and you just wasted your time doing that. I was really going into this with a lot of high expectations. I wanted this to be good. I liked everybody involved in it. But man, this thing, when you have the balls to try to do Planes, Trains, and Automobiles and do it this badly, I have no choice but to give you the equivalent of the middle finger here, which I don't know if I can do that on this channel, but yeah. Imagine there's a finger going up on one of these areas, and of course it's I almost did it. Of course it's this one right here, but you know exactly what you're talking about. You know exactly what I'm thinking of here, but yeah, that's what I have to say about Due Date. What a terrible movie. And they're still trying to remake Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. They tried to do it with Will Smith and Kevin Hart, and then that thankfully didn't go anywhere, but they're still trying to make it work, make a remake happen. Don't remake the classics. Remake the bad movies. Take the advice of Steve Martin. Have a point. It makes things so much more interesting for the listener, and for the viewer as well. I'm telling you to avoid Due Date like the plague, plain and simple. So let's go ahead and get back to, I don't want to say good movies here, but films that were at least trying to do something unique and different. Tyler Perry trying to go for that Oscar money, and that is for the movie For Color Girls. For color girls, you make the rockin' world go round. I apologize for that. When I see that title, I for some reason thought of Black Bottom Girls from Queen of all people, but no, this is definitely not that type of a movie. This is based off of a poem called For Color Girls Who Have Considered Suicide When the Rainbow Is Enough. And you see, this is an ensemble movie consisting of 10 women of color, 7 of whom are based on the play's 7 characters only known by color, the Lady in Red, Lady in Brown, Lady in Yellow, and explores their lives and struggles as women of color. Like its source material, characters deal with conflicts such as love, abandonment, rape, infidelity, abortion. This is Tyler Perry's first R-rated movie, too, so this is a rare thing for him at this point. And you see the cast that's in here, a stacked cast of really good, talented black female actresses. Janet Jackson, Whoopi Goldberg, Felicia Rashad, Tandy Newton, Loretta Devine, Anika Noni Rose, Tessa Thompson, Kimberly Elise, Kerry Washington, Macy Gray. It's definitely a movie where Tyler Perry really is trying to go for that Oscar, and he almost makes it work. But it's a typical, but it unfortunately falls into Tyler Perry territory. And when I say that, I mean it's a movie where a lot of the things he talks about in these movies in general, it's in this movie, and sadly, it's way too melodramatic for its own good. I mean, the commercial literally says, "Get ready for the most emotionally challenged movie of the year." I don't think I've ever seen a trailer promoting itself as the most emotionally challenged movie of the year. And it's probably not a good sign for the film going forward. And like I said, it's not that it's a bad movie. It's just a film that just feels like it's falling into typical Tyler Perry drama territory, where they're trying way too hard to get an emotional input out of you. It feels manipulative at many points. It's a movie where the effort is there, the heart is in the right place. You can tell that he's trying, but he just can't get away from the stuff that made him work with his other movies from the past 5 years. And it feels like this is a film that is trying so hard to be so unique and different, and yet it can't take that last big leap to take it to the next level and be a film that he wants it to be, an Oscar contender, an awards contender. It's just not there with this movie, unfortunately. And everybody in here is trying their best. There's a good cast in here, and they're working very well. But unfortunately, it's everything that Tyler Perry movies are, unfortunately, come into play here, and it just ruins the ebb and flow of the film. And I mean, like I said, it's not a bad movie, but it isn't the film that he wanted it to be. And it's a film where, if he had made more movies like this and actually gotten better as the time went on, with more movies that were kind of outside of his norm, I think he could have had a chance for a couple of Oscars. But unfortunately, this isn't the case with this film. And sadly, For Color Girls end up being something that has a lot of ambition and a lot of promise, a lot of heart in the right place, but just execution was just the missing link here. So So let's go ahead and move on to our next movie. Naomi Watts and Sean Penn starring in Doug Liman's Fair Game. It's hard to believe that we now have two movies released in November, the first week of November nonetheless, that had the title Fair Game, and coming out 15 years apart, because before this we had the 1995 movie, the William Baldwin, Cindy Crawford masterpiece, if you will, Fair Game, which, funny enough, as I'm looking at the IMDb page, guess what one of the recommendations are? Look at that! Fair Game. Which probably means that this has nothing to do with the actual movie itself, but just because it literally has the same title as the movie we're about. Yeah, good old IMDb at work once again. But Naomi Watts stars in the movie as Valerie Flame, and her status as a CIA agent was revealed by White House officials allegedly out to discredit her husband, played by Sean Penn, after he wrote a 2003 New York Times op-ed piece saying that the Bush administration had manipulated intelligence about weapons of mass destruction to justify the invasion of Iraq. So yeah, it's a film that is one of these politically charged movies. We were getting a lot of these, especially in the second half of the 2000s. In 2007 in particular, we had a ton of these movies, and not a lot of them were any good. But some of them were good. Some of them we did get some good ones. The Kingdom was a pretty good one overall. But then you got stuff like Rendition and Lions for Lambs and stuff like Stop Loss. But this is another one of those movies that is trying to be like this fact-based biopic and top political thriller, which it's fine for what it is. But it is more interesting to see Doug Liman do something a little bit outside of his norm. This is the same guy that directed The Bourne Identity and Swingers and Mr. and Mrs. Smith and that done Jumper before this. And seeing him taking on a genre that's completely outside of his norm is intriguing overall, and it does make for a film that's passable at best. Nothing too spectacular, nothing too amazing. The performances overall are fine in here, but there's really not a whole lot there to give this extra oomph that it needs to be something really spectacular. But I don't know, that's my personal take on that one, so that's Fair Game for you. So let's go ahead and move on to our last movie that we have here, and that's Danny Boyle's follow-up to Slumdog Millionaire, James Franco starring in 127 Hours. You always gotta love it how he had they make it seem like he had no idea that there was actually a thing of water underneath that rock when he's with Kate Mara and Amber Tamlin, but he can't figure out that maybe you shouldn't be going down this canyon right here, but is to and then get trapped by a boulder. You know, hey, typical white people. But this is 127 Hours. This is Danny Boyle's follow-up, of course, to his Oscar-winning Slumdog Millionaire, and it follows the true story of canyoneer Aaron Ralston, played by Franco, who must find a way to escape after he gets trapped behind by a boulder in an isolated slot canyon in Blue John Canyon, southeast Utah, in April of 2003. This is based off of Ralston's memoir himself, written by Simon Beaufoy, who co-wrote the script for Slumdog Millionaire, and he even has the same composer and the same producers as that film does. So they brought a lot of the same people back from this one in terms of the director, the writer, the producers, the people behind the scenes in general, and it makes for a very intriguing movie that kind of came out around the same time as Buried, which Buried literally got buried and pushed off to the side because as soon as this movie came out, it was all about the mood was all in on this movie here, and I like Buried a lot, but I do have to admit 127 Hours is a much better movie, and it's a much better movie because of James Franco giving it his all. I'm making fun of the guy for the stuff he does in this movie, and yeah, he's really damn good in this film. He deserved an Oscar nomination for this. He probably should have won too, but sadly, another movie that came out that we're going to get into in a couple weeks from time, or maybe next week. I don't know. It could be next week's. It could be on next week's scheduled movies, but he's great in the movie. He's really, and he does get a chance to show everybody that he's not just the funny guy from the Judd Apatow comedies, or Tobey Maguire's best friend from Spider-Man, like that type of thing. And yeah, he's not just that. He can be a really damn good actor, and he does give it his all in here, and he really does play it very well to a T. Then again, it probably also didn't help that he hosted the Oscars that March, and yeah. Say what you will about Anne Hathaway being bad, but James Franco was the worst one, and it felt like Anne Hathaway was being weighed down by him too, even though that he took much of the blame for it and brought her down with her. But But yeah, this movie in particular, though, is really good. It's a really engaging, chilling film. And it's not a long movie at all. It's only an hour and a half long. And that was really the biggest surprise by it, is the fact that it just went by so quickly. It's just like, really? That's it? That's all that's all you're doing? And yeah, and it leads into a really good climactic film where you don't know how this guy's going to get out, and you watch it and you're just like, how are you going to get out of this situation here? And the way they play it out is done very well. It's a very good, it's very intriguing film that does keep you on the edge of your seat all across. And James Franco really does sell it. Kate Mara is really good. Amber Tamlyn, Clemens Posey playing his lover, Lizzie Kaplan playing his sister. I mean, there's a lot of good people in here, a lot of really good stuff in here. And it sadly kind of gets overlooked after Slumdog Millionaire. It didn't do gangbuster business overall, but it was a box office hit. It did well with critics, and it did go on to be nominated for 6 Academy Awards, including Franco and Best Picture. And like I said, it's another one of those movies that should have probably won Best Picture, except besides the one that actually won. But all a good time. So overall, yeah, 127 hours definitely is worth the watch. I highly recommend it. Can't recommend it enough. And thus, with all that said, we wrap up another edition of Time About the Movies. And the next time we meet, we'll take a look at 3 more movies, including Tony Scott teaming up again with Denzel Washington, and Chris Pine starring in Unstoppable, about a runaway train, and not the runaway train from the 1980s, but a different kind of runaway train. We have Universal's Rogue Pictures trying to do what Neil Blomkamp did with District 9 and failing miserably at it. We'll take a look at Skyline, and we'll also take a look at Harrison Ford and Rachel McAdams starring in Morning Glory, a romantic comedy in the same vein as Working Girl, produced by J.J. Abrams. Most people don't realize that, but we'll take a look at those 3 movies. That'll be coming up tomorrow on the show, so definitely be on the lookout for that. But with all that said, though, thank you so much for watching this. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification button. Also, don't forget to check out our playlist, and also don't forget to check out the last episode we did. So until then, whether it's in the past, the present, or the future, I will see you at the movies. Take care.